Good morning and welcome to the class. So today is Thursday and yesterday was the celebration, St. Patrick's Day. So back to normal, back to the routine today, and I hope you will enjoy the class. We have some new people, so thank you everybody for connecting and for attending, and also we have some regular people, so I hope you can understand me. I hope you will enjoy the class. There are subtitles and captions available on the Facebook page if you want, and maybe this is a good idea to follow me, especially if it's difficult for you to understand. I really hope you can understand me with my English, because I know it's difficult sometimes for people to understand. I hope we have no problem with the Wi-Fi, with the connection for the internet, with the laptop, with Zoom, with Facebook. We have a lot of technology we are using, so I hope everything is okay and we can have a good class. It's possible we have maybe a little disruption because I have my dog in the garden, so maybe during the class you will hear the dog, and we have 6 people at home and a baby, so we have a lot of people at home at the moment, and it's possible at some point maybe a little disruption, but hopefully everything is okay. I know for you probably similar situations. Maybe you're working from home, maybe you have no job at the moment, but maybe you are trying to learn English, and English is very important for you. And we have people today from England, people connecting from England, maybe from Brazilian people, Polish, Bulgarian people in London, and we have people in Dublin, people also in Vietnam, Thailand, so lots of different places, Romania, South America, we have Peru, Bolivia, and other countries as well. So you are welcome to put a comment in the Facebook page, but also I am using Zoom, so if you want to participate in the class, if you want to ask a question during the class, it's possible for you to join the Zoom meeting, and the code here is the ID and the passcode. So if you prefer to watch the class on Zoom, and if you prefer to participate, you can join the class with the ID and the code. Okay, so that's the introduction for this morning. Also, I have the social media account, so every morning I have a picture on Instagram, @miễn, and you can see some nice pictures of Dublin and also some information from the class, and in the evening maybe a picture with a quotation or extra words in English. So it's possible on Instagram, @miễn. Twitter has the same content more or less as the Facebook page, and YouTube, some people prefer YouTube, and the class will be uploaded every day to YouTube as well. Okay, so thank you so much again for connecting. The plan for today, you can see an introduction. So at the beginning we have an introduction document, and this is very important for new people, and also it's very important for regular attendees, because this is just an explanation and an introduction to the grammar content, to the concepts, and to the important terminology and the important technical vocabulary for English, because during my class I mention and I use a lot of technical vocabulary, so this is very important for you at the beginning to be aware and always to remember the structures and the technical vocabulary from English. After the introduction, I have an article from the USA Today, and the title is Spring Break. So typical in the United States, there is a holiday at this time of year for students, and today we will look at the vocabulary from an article in relation to typical spring break in the United States. That's one possibility. And the second possibility is a list of phrasal verbs. So we have a list of phrasal verbs you can see here, and every day we continue with the list, and it's possible today we will continue with the list of phrasal verbs and idioms as well. So also that's the list of the phrasal verbs and the idioms. Okay, and speaking practice is possible, so if you want to join the meeting on Zoom, you can practice some speaking, and we can have a conversation maybe with 2 or 3 people, and possibly you can ask a question if you have a question in relation to grammar or English, and depending on time and hopefully no disruption, we can practice some speaking. Okay, so I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're feeling okay and feeling good. It's almost a weekend, so only tomorrow and then it's Friday and we can have a relaxing weekend and enjoy. So yeah, remember, from me, it's a good opportunity to return to work. So the free classes are a good opportunity for me to return to work. Because of the pandemic, it was difficult to work, and finally I stopped in May, and now I have a small space to hopefully continue working again from here. And for you, hopefully it's a good opportunity to learn, and it's for free. If you want to help me, if you want to donate, it's possible at the end. You can leave a small tip of €1 or €2 if you want, and if you are happy at the end, I will leave the details. But it's a good opportunity for me, and it's a good opportunity for you. So I hope you can learn, and I hope you enjoy the class. And the first document is the introduction, and the most important document in my opinion. We have 3 sections. The first section is called Use of English, and for me this section is the most important, especially when you try to master and you try to progress and you try to really understand English. This category, Use of English, in my opinion, is the most important. The next section are the tenses in yellow. Different tenses when you speak in English. Is it the present? Is it the past? Is it the future? The concepts and the terminology and the technical vocabulary is very important at the beginning, and today I will explain a little the tenses. And finally, at the bottom, we have other grammar concepts that are very important. For example, noun, adjective, article, modal verb, preposition. So there's a lot of technical expressions, and when you learn English, the secret is to understand the concepts. Okay, so the basic ideas, it's very important for you at the beginning to understand, number 1. And also a big tip for you to really learn English very well, I recommend that you try to learn your own language a little better, because this will help you understand your own structure of language, and this will help you to learn a new language a lot easier, in my opinion. And I think that's a big piece of advice to really take. Okay, so English, today we have people from London, and in London you have different accents. In Dublin you have a different accent. In Glasgow, in Scotland, in Australia, in the United States, you have very different accents, and this is a really tricky area for you to master, and it's really tricky for you to understand different people. And for this reason, it's at the top of my list. We have people with very different accents and different velocities when they speak English, and you have a lot of local speakers, and it's very difficult to understand. So there's a lot of different English around the world. The next, well, I have, particularly for me, I have some particular pronunciation characteristics and possibilities from Ireland and from Dublin, particularly with the U, the TH and the OU. So during the class I try to help and try to tell you the problems or the issues to be careful in relation to the accent. The next section is phrasal verbs. Okay, so phrasal verbs, the concept basically is a verb plus the preposition, and it's possible literal significance, exactly literal significance, and the second significance is possibly completely different. So this is a very particular area for English. It's very unique for English, and phrasal verbs are a very important part to learn English. We use phrasal verbs all the time with family, with friends, in the morning, afternoon, evening. Very quick, very quick, and very difficult for you to catch, because one word, one small word, is possible to change the significance of the sentence completely. And this is the concept of the phrasal verbs. And during the class I try to identify a lot of phrasal verbs, and it's very important for sure. Okay, similarly with idioms. So idioms are little expressions, and they make English more entertaining, they make English funnier, they make English more colorful, and idioms are like expressions. In Espanol, frases hechas. And one example is a senior moment. So if I have a senior moment, it's a metaphor, because typically when the person is old, they maybe forget and they lose the memory. So if I have a senior moment today, it's a metaphor to say I forgot something, or I lose my memory a little in the moment. So that's just one example of an idiom, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands of idioms and thousands of phrasal verbs. So very important lists, and they are a fundamental part of English, and they're so important for you to learn because they are frequently used with native speakers. Okay. Finally, conversation is a big part of English. So obviously when you learn English, conversation is a big part for you to practice and to improve. And I recommend you find a student, or you find a person you can speak regularly in English, and hopefully the person can correct you and help you during the class. Sometimes it's possible for you to participate and to practice speaking. You can connect with Zoom, and we have the opportunity to practice conversation, and that's very important. Also, pronunciation is a big part of English, and we have some irregular pronunciation. Here's just a little list of pronunciation words. For example, yellow, so the two L's and the Y, yellow. Jacket, the J. Cash, the SH. Register with the G. A jet with the J. Engine with the G. Again, fragile, so the G and the I. Jealousy with the J. Yearly, chicken and kitchen. It's very peculiar, but a lot of people sometimes mix and confuse a chicken and the kitchen, but they're completely different. The chicken is the animal and you eat the chicken, but the kitchen is the place where you prepare and you cook the food. So sometimes people curiously make that little mix up, that little mix. Okay, that's use of English, and that section I think is a big area, and normally during my class I focus a lot on use of English. But the secret for you to learn English very fluently and very well, in my opinion, is the use of English, for sure. Okay, the next section are tenses. So in English we have the idea or the concept of tenses. When you speak, do you speak in the present, do you speak in the past, do you speak in the future? And we have some technical explanations or some technical vocabulary for the different times. For example, simple, we have the present simple, which is one action you do regularly in like a routine every day. I drink coffee in the morning. I explain the introduction every day. Present simple, present simple, present simple. We have the past simple, which is one action completed or finished in the past. But the difficulty is we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past simple. For example, eat in the present, I eat. The past, I ate. So we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past, and this is really tricky and really important for you to learn and to be familiar with all the irregular verbs. It's difficult. Also, we have the simple future, which normally is will. I will go, I will eat, I will have. This is the future simple, one action that will happen in the future. There's a second possibility, going to. I am going to eat, you are going to meet. That's the future construction also. That's the simple. And we also have the continuous. So the concept of the present continuous is one action that happens continuously in the present. The construction is the subject, extra auxiliary verb to be, and the gerund of the verb. The gerund is the ing. So I am eating, I am drinking, I am talking, present continuous. The past continuous structure is very similar, except obviously the past. I was eating, I was drinking, I was talking. And the future continuous is the period in time in the future where the activity happens continuously. I will be eating, I will be going, I will be drinking. That's the simple and the continuous. The next concept is the perfect. So we have the present perfect, which is very frequent and very common, and also the past perfect. So the concept or the idea of the present perfect is the period of time in the past. It's finished, it's completed, but the consequences are relevant and definitely related to the present. The structure is the subject, extra verb have, and the participle of the verb. The participle is the third column in school. When you learn the verbs, go, went, gone. So that's just an example of the verb to go. And the third column is the participle, and this is used in the perfect. I have eaten my breakfast this morning. It started in the past, it's finished, but it is consequential and related to now, because at the moment I am not hungry because I have eaten my breakfast. Okay? The past perfect is similar in structure, except the verb have is in the past, and it's usually in a period of time in the past before another action in the past simple. So I had eaten my breakfast before I contacted my friend. That's the difference between the present perfect and the past perfect. The past perfect is usually the period in time in the past before another action in the past simple. Okay? In the United States, the present perfect is not very typical. In the United States, it's more typical the past simple. And really, there's a very, very small difference between the two. But it's just curious and important for you to know. Also, in the future, we have the future perfect. I will have eaten my breakfast before my friend will contact me. So the idea of different times and different tenses are very important in English. And if you really want to be comfortable with English, and you want to understand English, and you want to be very confident with English, it's essential that you are familiar with the different tenses and the different times at the beginning. Okay? The next idea basically is the infinitive. So the infinitive of the verb is the base, and normally it's to go, to eat, to drink, to have, to look, to smoke. They are the infinitives. Okay, in Espanol it's para beber, para comer, para dormir, and dormir, and that's the infinitive. And during the class I mentioned a lot the concept of the infinitive. Okay, so it's important that you are aware of the infinitive. Conditionals are very, very heavy with the theory in the book. So we have a section in English called conditionals, and there's the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, mixed conditional. In the book, the theory is very, very heavy, and the rules are very strict, and it's a little difficult and a little depressing to study the conditionals. But in reality, in my opinion, in conversation, it's a little more flexible and a little less strict. Basically, it depends on if, the word if. For example, if it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. Okay, so if I have the vaccine, I can go to the concert. So it depends on the word if and the different times. This is the area and the idea of the conditional. Okay. The final area that's interesting and very common and very frequent and very important is the idea of the active and the passive. So basically the active is the structure with the subject, the verb and the object. Okay. I drink milk, that's the active, and to create the passive we change the position, but we also introduce an extra verb to be. So the active I drink the milk changes to the milk, extra verb to be is participle drunk by me. Okay, that's just one example of the active and the passive, and it's very common, it's very impressive, and it's a little advanced, but again, it's important for you to be aware of the structure because you want to improve and to be very comfortable and confident with English. Okay. The next area is just grammar in general, and we have some important foundation explanations and very basic terms that are very important. For example, the noun. You need to understand a noun, adjective, article, and basically a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. There are so many nouns. For example, hand, television, table, football, noun. Okay, every noun you need an article. So there's two articles in English, a football or the football. A football is in general, but the football is specific. Okay, we have one rule: when the noun begins with a vowel, a, e, I, o, u, for example, apple, we need the article an apple. Okay, so that's important. We have the indefinite article a, and we have the definite article the. This is just important for every noun. You need an article. Also, the adjective. The function of the adjective is to describe the noun. Okay, and the position of the adjective is before the noun. This is important because other languages, Spanish and Portuguese in particular, the adjective is after the noun, but in English the adjective is before. For example, football, the small football, okay, or the big football. So the adjective, the function is to describe the noun, and the position is before the noun, okay. We have an idea, that's the adjective, we have an idea of the countable and uncountable nouns. So there's a small difference between the category of nouns you can count and a category of nouns that you cannot count. For example, football, 1 football, 2 footballs, 3 footballs. Football is countable. Water, 1 water, 2 water, 3 waters. No, never, because it's not really possible, because normally we say 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles of water, 1 glass of water, 2 glasses of water, 2 liters of water. But water itself is not really possible to count. So this is an example of uncountable noun, and this is important in relation to how much and how many. Okay, how much is related to uncountable, how much water, how much time, how much money, how much chocolate, and how many is related to countable, how many footballs, how many people, how many tables. So it is important, the difference, and to distinguish between countable and uncountable. A little difficult concept, but very important. Also, with the adjective, we have the idea of the comparative and the superlative, okay. So this television is good, but this television is better than the other television, but this television is the best, okay. So you have comparative and the superlative. Normally the rule for the comparative is ER when it's 1 syllable. For example, big, bigger, biggest, that's regular. But if it's more than 1 syllable, like interesting, we use more and most. So this is interesting, but this is more interesting than this, but this is the most interesting. So that's called the comparative and the superlative, and that area is very important. The adverb, so the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. We have, of course, a lot of verbs: to eat, to drink, to talk. So you have an adverb, and the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. To eat, quickly; to talk, slowly. And normally the adverb has the ending ly. Okay, here you can see a lot of vocabulary for adverbs with ly: quickly, slowly, softly. Also, we have other adverbs in relation to time: already, now, yet, still, soon. And these are very common words, very important. We use them all the time, every moment, every day, very naturally, very simply, but we are not aware of the difficulty for you to catch and to understand the concept in general. So an adverb, the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. Very important, okay? Modal verbs. So in English we have a special category of verbs called modal verbs, and you can see a list here of modal verbs. Can is the first modal verb. It's related to ability and permission. I can enter the shop. I can travel with my friend. It's my permission. And ability, I can play the guitar. I can run a marathon. It's my ability. So can is for permission and ability. Could, may and might are for possibilities and options, and they're extremely similar. The significance is practically the same. Could, may and might. May and might are probably a little more formal and a little more polite. So it's for options and possibilities. Today I could go to the city centre. I might have a coffee. It's an option, it's a possibility, and very frequent and very important modal verbs. Shall is similar to will and is typical for the question. Shall I help you? Shall I go to the cinema? Shall I have my dinner? It's a question, will. More formal and very important also because it's very frequent, but it's a little more formal, but very common word, shall. The same significance as will for a question. Should is typical for recommendation and advice. So if I give you advice, it's typical to use the verb should. You should go to the cinema. You should contact your friend. You should take the vaccine. It's a recommendation. It's my advice. Also, the next verb is exactly the same significance. It's more formal. It's a little older, but it's more formal. but the pronunciation is a little difficult because the G is silent. So you ought to go to the cinema, you ought to contact your friend, you ought to watch the television. It's my advice and my recommendation. Must is the modal verb for obligation, so you have no choice. You must collect the children, you must eat the dinner, you must read the book. So must is obligation and you have no choice. It has the same significance as have to. Okay, you have to collect the children, you have to watch the television. So it's obligation. The big rule and the most important rule with the modal verbs is the next verb is normally infinitive, and remember, infinitive: to go, to eat, to drink, to have. So normally this is the rule, but the exception with the modal, it's necessary always to eliminate to. Okay, so the correct structure is you might go to the cinema, you can eat the chocolate. The incorrect, you might to go to the cinema, you can to eat. This is incorrect because the rule is necessary to eliminate to. And that's the most common error with the modal verb, so you have to be very, very careful with that. The next section, we have spoken a little already of prepositions. So in English we have maybe 150 prepositions, and there are a lot of lists on the internet, a lot of lists in relation to prepositions. They are small words, very, very small little words, but they change the significance a lot. And I think in English we have more prepositions compared to other languages. They are very, very small, but basically they are related to movement, they are related to direction, and they're related to position. So imagine in English we use direction, movement and position all the time. So I am in the room, I am sitting on the chair, the computer is on the table. So prepositions are very important. Also speak, I speak in general, but direction, I speak to you, or I look in general and I look at you. So they're so important. And also position, the football is on the table, the football is over the table, the flower is in my pocket. And prepositions are very important for movement, direction and position. And also in phrasal verbs, prepositions are a key fundamental part of phrasal verbs, and usually there's an association with emotion in relation to phrasal verbs. For example, up is positive, happy, creation. Down is negative, destruction and to destroy. So there is an association with emotion and a connection with the prepositions in relation to phrasal verbs. Okay. The next area is very important, in a concept called possessive adjectives. For example, my chocolate cake, your chocolate cake, his chocolate cake, her chocolate cake, our chocolate cake. But the difference between the chocolate cake is mine, the chocolate cake is yours, the chocolate cake is his, the chocolate cake is hers. So you need to be very, very clear and very confident with the difference, because it's a typical confusion. And the final example is the object pronoun. Give the chocolate cake to me, give the cake to you, give the cake to him, give the cake to her. And the area of he, she, him, her, his, hers in particular, the masculine and the feminine, is the most commonly confused. Okay, so you need to be very, very clear with that. Also, we have a relative pronoun, which is who, whom, whose, which, that. That is frequent and very, very important. We also have demonstratives, which is the difference between this, that, these and those. Basically, it's related to position and singularity and plural. So this pen here, esta boli, this pen, that pen in a different position, these pens, plural here, and those pens, plural, away in a different position. So that is important. Also, the determiners, the difference between another, other, the other, and the others. So during the class, I try to identify these issues. But remember also my pronunciation of the TH. Phonetically, it should be other, the others, Thursday, this, that. But sometimes in Ireland and sometimes for me, it sounds like a D. This, that, these, those, other. So sometimes the TH sounds like a D in Ireland and possibly for me. But basically, the difference between another and other is related to singular and plural before the noun. Another day, another cake, another person, another singular, and other for plural, other people, other days, other years. So it's important, the difference. The other is typically when you have a choice or a selection of two things. Do you want this chocolate cake or do you want the other chocolate cake? So obviously I'm thinking about chocolate cakes a lot this morning, but there's a difference when you have a selection or a choice. Do you want this coffee or the other coffee? Okay. And the last example is with the S, the others, in relation to a group of people. Do you want to travel to the beach with us? Do you want to travel to the beach with them or with the others? Okay, so it's important, the difference, and hopefully you are familiar already with that. And that's the most important introduction for today. Of course, the questions, how to create the questions is important. The idea of the suffix and prefix is very, very important, and this will help you identify the difference between the verb, the noun, the adjective, the adverb, the suffix and the prefix helps you a lot. Okay, linkers, very common and very important, and specific vocabulary. So if you want to prepare specific vocabulary, of course you need to read, you need to focus on a particular area, and the best advice for learning English for sure is to read. You need to read newspapers, read magazines, read books and different topics. This is the best way, number one, to improve vocabulary. But of course sometimes you have very difficult vocabulary when you read. But number two, it's very important to recognize the structures and the grammar concepts and to see the grammar in action. So reading is very, very important and a big part of learning English. Reading books, reading magazines, reading newspapers. Also listening. You need to listen to radio, listen to television, listen to conversation as much as possible, okay? And writing as well is a different skill. Here you can see writing is very, very important, and you need to try regularly to practice your writing because it's a big area in English, okay? So that's the most important introduction. Also exam preparation, the Cambridge exam and the IELTS exams are very popular and very important, and for example the B2 in the Cambridge, the first certificate, and the C1, the advanced certificate in Cambridge, and the C2, the proficiency, they're very typical, and the IELTS exam. So yesterday we had a specific webinar in relation to the IELTS. So yesterday at 4 o'clock we had a specific webinar in relation to IELTS, and it was very good. We focused on some reading in particular, and every week we will continue with the IELTS webinar on Wednesday. Today at 4 o'clock in Dublin we have a specific webinar for the advanced exam, the Cambridge advanced exam, which is C1, and today we will focus on the exam at 4 o'clock, and it's a particular class and everybody is welcome to join. It's open for everybody every week. You can join when you want, and there's a small fee of €2.90. Very, very cheap, very good value, and it's approximately 1 hour on Zoom, and hopefully we'll have the ability maybe to participate. If you have a question, you can speak in the class, and the idea is to continue every week with webinars. For example, Thursday is the advanced. Tomorrow we have business English webinar at 4 o'clock. Saturday at 1 o'clock we have the first certificate B2 webinar specific for the exams. Monday we have grammar at 4 o'clock. Tuesday we have sport and football vocabulary, and Wednesday we have the IELTS. So this is today. If you want to participate, contact me and you can register your place, okay? So that's possible for today. That is the introduction. Now I want to begin with an article from the USA Today. So this is a very popular newspaper in the United States, and I just want to show you the title. So let me see, it's a bit slow, but the title today is in relation to the holidays for students. They have spring break, which is very typical in America, and I'm just waiting for the computer because it's a little slow. Maybe it had a party yesterday for St. Patrick's Day. So the topic is the holiday. So normally in the United States, this time the students have a holiday and it's called spring break. Okay, and normally they finish school and they travel to Mexico, they travel to the beach, and it's a very famous theme, a very famous idea. In lots of movies you hear spring break. So this article is in relation to spring break, and here I will put my notes. But remember, this is the meeting for Zoom, so if you want to connect with the meeting, that's the code. But now I'm going to put my notes So spring break is the vocabulary, but it's very flexible in English because the verb to spring is this action in my watch. I have a spring in my mattress, colchon in my mattress. Okay, I have a lot of springs. So the spring is the little object when you push and it bounces, to bounce, botar. Okay, so there is an expression to have a spring in your step. This has a significance. You are enthusiastic, you're very happy, you feel very good today, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and you have a spring in your step. So you're walking with more enthusiasm, you're walking with more energy, you have a spring in your step. Okay, so it's a flexible word, the verb to spring, and here is the noun. A spring in your step means you are walking with enthusiasm, you're walking and you're feeling very positive and feeling very happy. It's possible as well to spring to somebody's defense. So if your friend is in an argument and the friend is not very good in the argument, you spring to his defense or to her defense. So you jump. Okay, so it's similar to jump, and it's a little flexible, but it's very, very good vocabulary. But spring break is also the time of year, because we have the winter and you move from winter to summer, and it's the same concept, spring. Okay, so it's very, very good vocabulary, very logical and a little flexible. So first I will read the text for pronunciation, just to practice a little pronunciation, and after I read I will return to the vocabulary to analyze the grammar and the vocabulary. So first, here's a quotation. Feels like I'm being punished. College kids describe feelings of FOMO during spring break. Okay, so FOMO, if you don't know, is an acronym for fear of missing out. Okay, and the phrasal verb is to miss out. So for example, because of the restrictions, I am at home and I think maybe my friends are together having a party, but I have the fear, miedo, I have the fear I am missing out on the party. Okay, it's like losing the party. So this is a very famous expression, fear of missing out, and it's possible to say FOMO. Of course, we also say YOLO, which is you only live once, and that's a very typical expression as well. It's very common in conversation, YOLO, and the significance is you only live one time, so enjoy the moment, enjoy the activity. It's a famous expression, YOLO. But there's another expression, FOMO, which means fear of missing out, okay, during spring break. So this is the video, and this is a typical scene on the beach. You have a lot of students having a party, and of course this picture shows everybody together and obviously with no restrictions. So it's typical scene before last year. And now I will read a little. So when you think of spring break, you might envision college kids traveling and partying in beachside towns. At least that's what Madison Cerami was looking forward to. Okay, so I'll continue a little for pronunciation and then I will return. So before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the Wake Forest University junior and her friends planned to go to Florida and rent a house on the beach, like in the movies, she says. Cerami hoped March would be a time to let loose after the grueling semester at her school, nicknamed Work Forest by some students, but the school opted to remove the traditional week-long spring break and replace it with 2 rest days in an effort to prevent travel during the pandemic. And finally, like Wake Forest, many universities have taken measures to prevent social activities during the pandemic, with some shortening spring break to coincide with Easter and others cancelling it altogether. Okay, so not too difficult. I think the article is very understandable and not too difficult, but we have some important vocabulary. Okay, so here's the modal verb might. It's a possibility. So when you think of me, think of you, think of him, when you think of spring break, You might, so it's a possibility. And the verb is to envision. And it's very advanced. Okay, it's a little formal, a little advanced. It's related to vision, which is obviously your ability to see. Okay, my vision is good. So you need to be clear with the difference between vision, sight and view. So basically your vision is the quality of your ability to see. I have good vision or I have bad vision. This is my ability to see. Okay, that's the vision. Also in relation to your idea, if you have a dream for your plan, if you have the business and you have a dream for your plan, for your business, this is your vision, your perspective. But your sight is again very, very similar, because you can say your eyesight, and your eyesight is the same as vision, but your sight is almost the same as your vision, and your view is more what you see. So at the moment, my view, I can see the fridge, I can see my bag, I can see paint. It's my view. Okay, so there's a small difference between view and vision and sight, and here it's a little formal, but it's a verb to envision, and it's very formal, like to see, or maybe to foresee, which is to predict. Okay, and remember the rule: after the modal verb, the next verb normally is the infinitive, and normally in English infinitive is to, but because it's after the modal, we eliminate to. Okay, so it's just you might envision. It's a possibility. College, pronunciation, you need to be clear the difference between college and colleague. So pronunciation, because this is a very common error. So you go to college, which is like university. Okay, college, college, college. But in college, you have your colleagues. Okay, so colleague is completely different pronunciation. The significance is completely different and very, very important and very common error. But basically, it's related to league and co. Okay, co is like company, like together, co. And colleague is you're in the same league together, in school, in university, in work, your colleague. So the pronunciation is very, very important, because it's a common confusion and a common error. Your colleague, and then college is school. Okay, traveling and partying, so the verb to travel in the gerund, the activity, and party is the verb, but the ing is the gerund, the activity. In is the preposition for the town. Okay, in my town, in your town. So for town we say in, city we say in, because you're in the city, in the town. But the adjective here is beach side. This is an adjective, and originally it's two different words, the beach and the side, but with the hyphen is the little line in the middle. The hyphen, it's possible to combine and to connect two words to make one word. Okay, so it's a beach side town, and the significance is the town is located beside the beach. So very, very good vocabulary. Here, at least in Espanol is al menos, and it's very, very good vocabulary, and it's very common in English. So for example, today the weather is very bad. It's raining, it's cold, it's very bad weather, but at least I have my home, at least I have my food. So it's a small positivity, it's something you are happy. A pesar de, despite in Espanol, the bad situation. So despite the bad situation, at least you have your friends, at least you have your health and your family. So at least in Espanol is al menos. It's very common in conversation, and it's very flexible. We use it in lots of different situations and conversation. It's very, very important. That is what Madison Sarami was looking forward to. And this expression again is very, very important to look forward to. It's possible literal. So look, and then forward is the direction. So forward, we have backward, we have sideward. So when you have the suffix ward, it's typical for direction. Okay, when you have the suffix ward, it's typical for direction. So backward, forward, sideward. But the verb to look forward is possible literal. Okay, so look forward, but the second significance is more metaphorical. So today is Thursday, and I am looking forward to the weekend. but the significance is I am very excited, I'm very motivated, I am very enthusiastic about the idea of the weekend. It's extremely common. I am looking forward to the summer, I am looking forward to my holiday. It means you're motivated and enthusiastic and very interested and excited for the winter or for the summer. So very, very common. And in this case, the lady, Madison, was very motivated. She was very excited about the spring break, but finally it was cancelled. Okay, the next page or the next paragraph, before is the preposition. So of course there's a big difference between before and after, and some people confuse this a lot. Before in Espanol is antes and after is después. Okay, so very important. So before the pandemic hit, a little difficult because the verb is to hit, which is normally golpear. You hit the ball, hit the arm, hit the table, but the pandemic hit society, or the pandemic hit the people, so it's a little metaphorical. It's very frequent. The Wake Forest University Junior is the person, and her friends, remember this is the possessive adjective, my friends, your friends, his friends, her friends, and it's plural. The verb is to plan, and the past is ed, but it's a little irregular because we have two ends. So the verb is to plan with one end, and the past planned. Okay, so very interesting difference. To plan and planned. To go to, so the verb is to go, and the preposition for direction or movement is to. So they go, they move, but to Florida. So it's specific direction, okay? The verb is to rent a house. We have some vocabulary for rent. It's possible to lease or to contract. So it's possible to rent, to lease, or maybe to contract or to hire. So there's four possible synonyms to rent a house. On is a typical preposition for the beach, because remember, on is for surface. Typically on is the preposition for the surface. On the table, on the wall, on the floor, on the roof, on the body, on the head. But the beach is a surface, so we say on the beach. So very, very important difference between on the beach. In the beach is not really possible in, because in is normally contained. So people will understand you, but it's definitely more common on the beach, okay? In is also typical for the movies. I saw in a movie, he was acting in a movie, and that's just important as well, okay? And yes, so I think we've lost that. Yeah, so in the movies. Okay, so the next paragraph is a very good phrasal verb. To let loose is a very good expression. So the verb is to hope, and the past is hoped. So Sarami hoped, but there's a difference between hoped and hopped. Okay, so the verb is to hope, the past is hoped, and there's another verb to hop, and the past is hopped. So very, very interesting difference. Two P's. So to hop is like saltar, like to jump. You hop, you're very happy, you have a spring in your step and you're hopping. But the past is hopped. Okay, and the verb is to hope. When you have a lot of motivation, you really hope, fingers crossed, you hope, and the past hoped. Okay, so good vocabulary, and there's a little difference. March would is hypothetical, so this is the conditional. Would be a time to let loose. Okay, so very, very good expression. The verb is to let, which has the significance to permit, and loose is the adjective. It's typical for clothes. So for example, my shirt is very tight. I think apretado in Espanol. It's very tight, but the opposite, it's very loose. Okay, my shirt is very loose. It's very flexible in relation to money. Do you have any loose change, loose coins? Okay, so loose change, loose coins means money or extra money that you have extra. That's not necessary for you to use. So this is the money you need, but this is the loose money, the extra money. And there is a verb to loosen. Your shirt means the significance to open your shirt, but there's a phrasal verb as well. To loosen up means to relax. So you need to loosen up. You're very serious, you're very stressed. Loosen up. It has a significance, be more relaxed and be less serious. Okay, so loosen up. But to let loose is to really enjoy yourself. So imagine Monday to Friday you're working 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, very serious, very stressed, and everything's very tight with work, with stress. But on Friday night you can let loose, you can relax, and you can watch a movie, you can have some takeaway or something like that. So to let loose is to really relax. Okay, it's possible if you're very angry and you're frustrated and you have a lot of things you want to say and you don't say because it's polite, but then you let loose, you really tell people your opinion. So to let loose is flexible, and it's very, very good expression. After, so the difference between before and after. Semester is also different, because I think in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in France, you say trimestre, okay, and semester in English is more typical. So for example, from September until October, this is one semester, the first semester. The next semester is maybe, I'm not sure, but it could be September to December, that's one semester, and the next semester is January until March. So there's 3 semesters normally, I think, but I know in Spain it's more typical trimestre, but in English it's more common semester. Okay, so very, very important. Grueling, so semester is the noun and grueling is the adjective. Very, very good adjective, and it means very difficult, very hard, very tough. So vocabulary, we have hard, difficult, tough, and the significance is grueling. It's more advanced vocabulary, and it means very, very difficult. So my exam was grueling. It was really difficult. It was really hard. The situation was grueling, very difficult, and the semester was very tough. So the pronunciation here is like F, was very tough, was very difficult. So very, very good vocabulary and a little advanced. Nickname is the short, maybe in Espanol, apellido, but the nickname in English is your short name. Or my name is Brian, but my friends call me B. So B is my nickname. Okay, so a nickname is the short name to give your friend, but in this case the school has the nickname Work Forest. It's a little joke. Okay, opted is very important as well. The school opted to remove, and it's related to the word option. So the option is the noun and the verb is to opt for. It's very, very typical with the preposition for. I opt for this coffee, I opt for this sandwich. It's my option, it's my selection, it's my choice. So with for, it's typical plus the noun. Okay, opt for a holiday, opt for this book, that's possibly the noun. But also if you say opt to, it's usually with the next verb. Okay, you opt to go, you opt to take, so typically it's the next plus the verb. And here it's the verb opted in the past because it's regular. So opt is the present, opted to remove, which is quitar in Espanol. Traditional week long, so this is one adjective because we have the hyphen. Spring break, and replace it. So it is substitution for the holiday. Replace the holiday with 2 rest days. In is with the effort. Okay, and remember effort is the noun, but because the noun begins with an E, it's necessary to have the article with an, because the noun begins with a vowel. Okay, to prevent travel during the pandemic. Okay, so that's just a little analysis of an article. Really, really good and not too difficult today, I don't think. It's quite clear and quite simple. A few difficult words and a few difficult expressions, but very important. And we began with the introduction for the grammar, and we continued with the analysis of the vocabulary and the grammar. And you can continue reading this yourself if you want. I will put the link of the article in the comment section below the video, and it could be a good opportunity for you to practice. So now is a good opportunity if you want to participate in the class. If you have a question and you're using Zoom, you can connect with Zoom to ask a question, or you can connect to practice some speaking. Also on Facebook Live, of course, you can leave a comment, and you can leave a comment in the chat. I cannot see the comment at the moment, but if you connect with Zoom, I can see everything, and I'll just join the chat to make it active. And I think we have maybe Matteo, I think, is possibly in the chat, so you're welcome to participate if you want. And I think that would be the majority of the class today. So again, that's the code here. We do have some new people today, So you are very welcome to the class, and thank you so much for connecting to the class and joining the class. I appreciate it. And everybody else, thank you so much for connecting to the class again. It's always great for you to watch and to attend, and I appreciate it a lot. Everything is for free, remember, but if you want to support me, if you want to help me a little, you can make a small donation of maybe €1 or €2, or if you're in England, you can make maybe £1, depending on your location, or different currencies. But it's a big support and a big help for me, and it will allow me to continue working this way. At the moment, this is my work, and I am teaching for free in the mornings, but I also have a help from the government at the moment because I was unable to continue working, and this will be a very good step and a good help for me to reconstruct and to rebuild my classes and my teaching. So if you want and if you can help me, that would be very, very good with a small donation. It's possible in Spain with Bizum, the application, and with my telephone number. Or in Ireland we have Revolut, which is very possible as well, with a telephone number. At the bottom we have the bank transfer. You can see the IBAN and the BIC. So some people prefer transfer by bank, and there are the details if you want. And finally we have the PayPal option. You have a code, or you can go directly to the website paypal.me/support Brian King, and this will direct you to a page to donate. So thank you everybody already who have donated. It's a big, big help for me, and I really appreciate your support, and I'm very, very grateful for all your help and all your support, so thank you so much. But if you would like other people to donate, this is the information, and it will help me a lot. Okay, remember, today we have a meeting, a specific webinar today for the advanced exam at 4 o'clock in Dublin, and we will focus specifically on the parts of the exam. It's a very interesting exam. I like it a lot because it's a good test, and it shows you every part of English: reading, writing, speaking, listening, and grammar, use of English. Okay, it's on Zoom, so approximately 1 hour on Zoom, and you can contact me if you want to register your place. It's very simple. I will give you the details for the meeting, and there's a small fee of €2.90 if you want to join. Every day we have webinars at 4 o'clock, and tomorrow we have business English on Fridays. Monday is grammar, Tuesday is sport, Wednesday is IELTS exams, Thursday is the advanced exam, Friday is business, and Saturday is the B2 exam certificate, first certificate for Cambridge on Saturday. Okay, so that's, I think, everything for today. I hope you enjoy the class. Some people are watching live, of course, and other people will watch on repeat. So thank you so much. And other people will not watch at all. So very, very good vocabulary and very good situation. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. It looks like we have no participants, so enjoy the rest of your day, and keep in touch. And if you have any comments, send me a comment on Facebook, and also keep in touch with the social media on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We have all the channels. Okay, that's everything, I think. So enjoy your day, have a good morning and a good afternoon, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.